we can do it to a man like Jim Brown, I think it is so significant. And so we're all honored tonight to have Jim Brown collaborating with Mark Alive right here in the beautiful City Theater in downtown Detroit. We can't have it better than this. So without much ado, I think this is significant to understand that, we didn't get to do this just because somebody just offered. This is not a free event as such, as you would call it. Somebody had to pay for this, somebody had to support, somebody had to believe in what we're doing this evening tonight. And somebody had to have the audacity of believing in that and to say, we're going to support Mark Alive, we're going to support bringing Jim Brown to town to give legitimacy to what we do. And the person who is one of the presenting sponsors here tonight, last year I was honored. I think I did a very good job. I'm returning this year as the MC for the second time. So I think I've done a good job last year. So it's my honor to welcome to the podium for him to give remarks. Paul Wickstrom is the CEO of Forever Recovery, an individual who is committed to combating Michigan's addiction problem, something that goes in line with the vision of Mark Alive as well. I think it's significant to see companies that are willing to step up to help our young people, help to put resources to secure the future for young people. So without much ado, let's bring to the podium the one and only man behind Forever Recovery, Mr. Wickstrom.
Thank you, everybody. It is always a pleasure to be around such upstanding people that have the same intention that I have about the kids and the young adults in this world. Now, we talk about the world because it is a worldly thing. Drug addiction does not play, it does not take prisoners. It affects everybody. It affects the rich, the poor, the well-endowed, the blue-collar worker. It affects the African American, it affects the Caucasian, it affects everybody. And one thing we have to look at, we have to look beyond all race, money, anything that it has to do with, and we have to do one thing. We have to join together to fight this. It was my honor to invite Jim here for this privilege of being with him again. We were in LA, we did a show in LA, it was fantastic because of one thing. Jim's got a foundation. I can, right?
Yes, sir.
I can. The Mark Alive Foundation. We want to prove something in Detroit, Michigan. We want to prove that we can create a partnership for a drug-free Detroit and actually make it happen. So, what we're going to do is we're going to start with the young kids. We're going to educate. We're going to build the kids up. Those kids will eventually be the people that take over the political offices, the police departments, the emergency departments, the politicians, and those people will be drug-free. Thus, we will create a drug-free Detroit. But if we don't start now, and we all know the problem that heroin has created in this country, it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. So, again, let me thank Jim for being here. Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
It's always a pleasure to see you. His wonderful wife, Monica, thank you. Monique. Monique. Thank you. I got that wrong. Okay, now I'm going to get killed. No. And let me thank you all for coming. And we are going to do this. Again, everybody have a good night and thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Wickstrom. I like the idea of the I Can Foundation. I'm tempted to say, yes, we can. You know where that comes from anyway. Our next speaker is an individual who has done so much in this community, has been a legislator, has spoken to issues that are important to what we do, to our survival, has represented Detroit and Lansing, where so many things go on there, and sometimes you really have to be strong to stand out so your voice can be heard.
With the Mark Alive, we believe in prevention, because if you never start, you never have to stop.
Amen.
And so that's what we want to try to do. We want to make sure understand that there is a better way. But I'm going to be real honest with you. When the economy is down, these are the first programs that they cut.
My very good friend, John Graves, is one of the, actually he's the invisible hand behind this evening's program.
Thank you, Baker, for those kind words. We're very proud of you. You're an individual, journalistic ethics, you're an advocate for the region, the city, the state, and a male far in the house tonight. Reggie McKenzie from the Buffalo Bills. Larry Lee, Detroit Lions, Executive Denver Broncos. And my eyes might be failing me, but not my heart. So I don't know, but I thought there was an orange man here. That's about 6'10". I don't know, I missed him. Derek Cole. And of course, everyone's judge. And the only judge that has the audacity to wear orange, pink or blue, and still allow justice to prevail. The Honorable Judge Craig Strong. And you will hear from him later, but we also have a bright star on the political scene who is making a difference already. He's only been in office for 3 months. And when you hear the name Scott Benson, you don't put a period behind his name, because he's a man on the move and he's doing great things to reshape this city. Scott, will you please stand? So I'm going to turn things back over to Banker Lee, and as I do, will you please move a little to the left so we can show the video of this man, this legend, this hero. There's one thing about Mr. Brown, people make a move on it. I'm getting out of the way.
And this video is called The Man, the Legend, the Hero.
He's still a bad man. He stopped the video.
He's a big man, but he can move like lightning.
Hands the ball to Jim Brown, outside left hand to the 40. He's to the 45. He's
Jim Brown was a multi-sports phenomenon who excelled in basketball, track, and lacrosse.
As a junior in high school, he's better than anybody on our college team this year, and he's better than anybody we played against in college this year.
As a sophomore at Syracuse University, Brown was the second leading rusher on the team. As a junior, he rushed for more than 666 yards. In his senior year, Brown was unanimously voted for the first team All-American and set school records for highest rush average and most rushing touchdowns.
He wasn't just going to fall. He wasn't just going to fall. So if he defied gravity, you know he'll step up and defy all that other nonsense on the football field.
He was as close to Nietzsche as, it was a pure concept. Jim Brown on a Sunday afternoon, I went to those games, the Giant games, sat out there freezing November with my father, and then go back and forth all day. That orange helmet would be moving the ball.
Everybody knew the run was coming, and yet nobody could stop Jim Brown.
Keep in mind, 3rd and 8, 3rd and 9 was not a passing down in Cleveland. That was just a case of whether we're going to flip the ball to him or throw him a flare pass.
The most important thing for a running back, average yards per carry. Every time you touch that ball, what are you going to do? 5.2.
Which means every 2 times he touched the ball was a first down. No one has ever done that. Never played indoors. Never played on carpet. Never in a fixed environment of 75 degrees. He played in every element. One time he played with a broken wrist half the season.
He's a phenomenon. He had all of the equipment, but like I said earlier, he had the mental aptitude to know what was going on.
Jim Brown probably came in the league and took command quicker than any football player ever. He was respected from the moment he started to do his thing.
For Brown, it was all about power. The power of his body, the power of his mind, and the power of his spirit. Jim Brown, the unstoppable and undisputed #1 power runner of all time.
It really would be something, wouldn't it?
Just watch that.
When I did Ice Station Zebra, that part was not written for a black man.
I'm Commander Faraday, Captain.
Captain Anders, sir.
Good to have you aboard.
Thank you, sir. I did the split with Gene Hackman and Ernest Borgnine and all those guys. The film was financed on me.
Watch out for Jim Brown.
What is your name?
I'm Linebacker. Policeman.
They fight with every dirty trick in the book.
Williamson, Kelly,
What do we live for? I say offense. What do we live for? I say team. What do we live and die for?
Getting too old for this.
Jim Brown, the man, the legend, the hero.
Well, John, so next on the program, to indicate how much they feel about the legend here with us this evening, is Miss Joyce Jackson, a senior at Castech, who has a rendition that she's going to sing here this evening. Is Joyce Jackson here? Oh, it's coming. Let's give her a round of applause.
There's a hero when you look into your heart. You don't have to be afraid of what you are. There's an answer when you reach into your soul. Then the sorrow that you know will melt away. And then a hero comes along with the strength to carry on. And you cast your fears aside, and you know you can survive. So when you feel like hope is gone, look inside you and be strong, and you'll finally see the truth that a hero lies in you. It's a long road
amazing presentation from Ms. Jackson. But of course, only Cass Tech can do that.
All right, Cass Tech.
Mine too.
All right, well, we're moving further down. Tighten your seatbelts.
Sean called me and said, Leon, Jim is going to be in town tomorrow. Would you introduce him? I said, Sean, Jim Brown is coming to town? You want me to introduce him? Man, I would jump over 9 sleds to come in here to see Jim Brown, and to introduce Jim Brown. You know why? Because Jim Brown was not my hero. I idolized Jim Brown. I idolized him. My brother who played professional football, we was play touch football in the backyard. And Jim, the fights my brother and I had over who was going to be Jim Brown. And I won most of them. Because I was a little larger than my brother. My brother was a professional football player too. And because you know what? Jim Brown, I idolized this man. There wouldn't be no Mel Farr if it wasn't for Jim Brown. Because, you could have a hero. A hero is out there, but you could idolize, I idolized him, so I know that, when I idolize him, I can be like him, and so, I went to, because I idolized him, and I said, you know what, I'm going to be like Jim Brown. So I went to UCLA. And I said, you know what, at UCLA, I said, you know what, I want to be like Jim Brown. So, Jim, man, I tell you what, it is a real pleasure for me to introduce my idol, and that's Jim Brown. Because you know what? For all the statistics and everything, that's fine. But the guy, he made it possible, for Reggie, Barry Sanders, myself, OJ, to go out there and play as we did, because we wanted to be like Jim Brown.
Thank you, my brother. Love you, man. You feel the love, don't you? Mel Farr, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, now let me invoke moderator's privilege here. Just hold those remarks. Let's do something quickly. The Detroit City Council, presentation of the City Council, then we'll get to the conversation.
In addition, you founded American. I'm not sure, you may not remember this, I'm sure you don't. I actually met you at the airport in Cleveland on my way back from serving down south after Hurricane Katrina, and you were sitting on a bench waiting for a ride, I believe, or on your way to someplace else. And I jumped off the bus, I took a photo with you and said, you're a longtime idol of mine, just had a chance to meet you, thank you very much. But in addition, I'm also born and raised in Los Angeles, California. So you being a humanist and creating and founding American, I understand what it means to walk through the Rolling 20s, the Rolling 60s, and Piru. So I understand what that means and the work that you do there and the work that you do in Cleveland as well. So with my honor and privilege that I present to you this award, the Spirit of Detroit, is hereby presented as an expression of the gratitude and esteem of the citizens of Detroit to Jim Brown in recognition of exceptional achievement, outstanding leadership, and dedication to improving the quality of life by the City Council of Detroit, Michigan, April 17th, 2014. It is my honor and privilege to present this award to you. And now I'm going to take a presenter's point of privilege and do a selfie with my Jim Brown.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you gave me the opportunity to come up here and speak. When I first went to Syracuse and walked into the athletic facility, for me seeing, knowing who Jim Brown was, growing up just from the stories from Dave Beam, You know, Dave Bing has been my mentor since I've been 13 years old when I first, moved here to Detroit, Michigan. And just the stories, you know, Dave used to share with me about Jim. And like you say, he walked with a big stick. Jim say he's going left, he's going left. And I don't care who's going right, but he's going left. When I walk into the athletic facility, and you know, you would see all these football pictures of all the players that played, you know, Syracuse University, Floyd Little, Ernie Davis, everything. I turn the corner, and I see this picture of Jim Brown. He's in his lacrosse uniform. Guns up to here, you know, with his lacrosse stick. And for me, I never knew he played lacrosse. So I went to see Coach Roy Simmons, who was actually your roommate in college. Yeah, his son. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So he was telling me recently when I was up there that, you know, you guys had a lacrosse meet. And his dad was your guys' coach, and he was, hey, where's Jim? Where's Jim? Don't worry about it. Oh, he'll be here. Where's Jim? You know, we got a game in about 10, 15 minutes. Jim hasn't made it here yet. He says you pulled up in a convertible. Got out of the car.
It was a red Bonneville.
A red Bonneville. And so he said, Jim, you ready? Coach, I'm ready. And so you went out and scored like 12 goals by yourself before halftime and went to sit down. But, you know, for me to go to Syracuse and to wear the number 44, and I tell people that all the time, you know, I've been wearing 44 for 2 reasons. One is because of Jim Brown, and not his accolades in playing the game of football. I could care less about that. But to me, what he meant to the individuals, to us today, who be sitting here in this arena, you know, the things that he stood for, the platform that he had, and he used that platform to care about our civil rights. That's what moved me to want to wear that number. I mean, when I look at him as being an icon, he's in the same boat with me as a Muhammad Ali, you know, a Bill Russell, you know, because those guys used their platform at a time when it wasn't fair for us to even be in a place like this, you know, going through Jim Crow and everything, and they spent their own money doing it. So I understand when I saw the interview, was you talking about Kobe Bryant and all the other guys not using their platform to better our situation. I understood that. But a lot of guys shelter away from that. That's something that you guys never did, and I appreciate that and I respect that. And that's what made me really want to wear the number 44. Not just because of the accolades with you in football, but you being the man that you are and standing up for what's right.
Thank you. Derek, thanks for setting the stage and for setting up the premise for this conversation. Let me say number 44 is a good number because we have the 44th president. So the conversation now begins. The highlight of our conversation, Jim Brown here. Let's hear from you, Mr. Brown, in terms of, we know Jim Brown, the legend, Jim Brown that we see in the videos, in the movies, the Jim Brown that's in the documentaries. Who is the Jim Brown that we don't know?
It's a great question. It's a very honorable question. It's very seldom that people really care. They just go by what they hear, what they read, or even what they see on videos. I'll tell you who I am. When I sit here today, I see a group of people that are totally concerned, that comes from different organizations, that comes from the political field, the athletic field, the field of academics, and you're all here for one reason. You want to make Detroit a better place for our young people. And you understand that only through coalition and the cooperation of all of you can you possibly be successful in doing that job. And I was thinking, who would have the audacity to invite me to be a part of this coalition? they must be very smart, because I have another coalition that I'm going to invite all of you to, that's headed up by people like Bill Russell, Bill Belichick, Bobby Knight, Ray Lewis, okay, Keeler Sherrills. Keeler Sherrills, you probably is the only name you don't know, but he's one of the greatest activists that this country ever had. He helped create a truce in Watts for 15 years, where there were basically no homicides. And I just had a meeting with him. So what I'm saying to you is that I am conscientious of others, their power, their contribution, and the need for all of us to be able to work from an umbrella, under an umbrella, and bring our skills to that, so that we could raise the kind of funds that would allow us to be independent of the government, independent of grants, and have a continual assault on the violence in our communities, and to be able to increase the quality of our education for our young people. So that's who I am. And that might not be exciting to you, but I tell you, that's where I live. Because when I was a young kid, my father was not there. It was my great-grandmother. And then when she died, my mother, who struggled with me. And fortunately enough, she struggled and took me to one of the best high schools in the country. When I met my high school coach, he became my surrogate forever. A great man. And also I met Judge Kenny Malloy, who was a graduate of Syracuse and Manhasset, who took me under his wing and taught me all the values of a quality life and education. And because of them, I was able to go on and become successful. And in that success, I realized that I had a particular notoriety. I had certain resources that if I used the notoriety and used the resources, I could make a change. And I could also influence others. So all of those days, when you go back to the Negro Industrial and Economic Union, change to the Black Economic Union, to American, to all of these particular movements that I utilized the athletes in this country, that's what my history has been, and that's who I am tonight sitting here. If this was just athletic, you probably wouldn't see me. So I think
that opens the conversation to a whole new level, from the athlete to the activist to the social transformer. Let's talk about, I want to get your take in terms of, when you look at the current lay of the land, you look at the athletes today that we have, what you do is pretty unusual, because we don't have that many Jim Browns around who are that perhaps socially conscious about the state of issues in their community. What is your take on our current athletes around the country, and what do you expect? What is their what's your expectation of them as it relates to the future?
Well, there's two ways of looking at the modern day athlete. He is a benefactor of those who went before him. He is in the upper small percentage of people of wealth. He is in the first row of those people that have influence. He has a small percentage of conscientious individuals who are available to be utilized to bring change for his community. And he's also a part of a minority of individuals who really is afraid to do anything that would be controversial. And so he becomes a greater millionaire, a greater buffoon. And I never danced in the end zone. It looked buffoonish to me to see a grown man shaking his butt in the end zone because he scored a touchdown. That's what I mean by buffoonery. In slavery, they used to like to see us dance. And I would elaborate on that when a certain owner came in, executive director came in and asked me what I did. And he said he'd like to see me do a little dance. I said, Mr. Hungrum, I'm sorry, but I don't dance. And so that's the attitude that I bring. And I try to say it with a little humor to it. But if you really look at it, freedom, equality, and justice is something that we all as Americans should fully enjoy. And not only enjoy it, we should put back, reinvest,
and make sure that those who are coming after us are going to have an opportunity that's even better than ours. So the modern day athlete has exceptionally great young individuals who are conscientious trying to do something, but then the majority of them are interested in the money that they make and the power that they have and the little bit of dancing that they can do in the end zone. Now that will probably be on headlines tomorrow. But it's okay. You can take up the other side of the coin.
I think you set it up as a segue to my next question. The way you describe the modern athlete, what is your greatest fear?
Greatest fear?
Yes. In terms of what you've been able to do, when you look back.
I don't think in those terms.
What are you concerned about?
Oh, it's better. I'm concerned about the country as a whole, the state of our condition at this particular time. I just left the Lyndon Johnson Libraries, a meeting of the civil rights workers in the past, and Jimmy Carter spoke. And Jimmy Carter laid it out statistically, the terrible condition that our country is in. Unemployment, the deterioration of our schools, the escalation of violence, and all of this in the greatest country in the world. And there is no outcry. And we have an African-American president that people told me once we got an African-American president, everything would change. Well, I know he's struggling to do a good job, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But the bottom line is that we have to get to work. And the reason in my introduction I gave you so much credit for being here today, and you're so different. The diversification means a lot because it creates the power block that can make things happen. So I don't know if that answers your question, but.
No, that answers my question. But let's look back.
It was vicious, it was brutal, it was insensitive. It was the number one thing I thought about when I woke up, number one thing I thought about before I went to bed. And I resisted it with all my heart. I would not accept second-class citizenship. I would not allow myself to be ignorant, not to understand the value of slavery, to understand the humiliation of slavery, to understand the money that was made from slavery, to not buy into being the symbol of the black guy that made it to the first stage and he's happy, to think about the top echelon of those who rule this country and the insensitivity that they had to allow a country this rich to not alleviate a lot of the poverty. So this all sounds maybe negative to you, but it's a little different today. But during that day, it was so blatant until if you had any sensitivity, you had to resent being looked upon as, because you were black, as a second-class citizen that could take humiliation with a smile. And so they said I didn't smile too much. Well, I didn't have much smile. I didn't dance and I didn't smile. And that's a bad encouragement.
You know, sometimes we talk about the generation before us and the generation to come. And I hear sometimes the conversation that there's a disconnect between the generation, your generation, and the generation that we have in the context of the modern athlete. What needs to happen? Or do you share the opinion that in fact there's a disconnect?
No, I don't. Well, outwardly there's a disconnect, but internally there's no disconnect. Love and caring, respect will gain you some wonderful things regardless of what age that you happen to come up in. In general, you have political conditions and you have social conditions that generalize and put the negativity on you as a group of people. But there's always exception to the rule. Harriet Tubman is known as the leader of the Underground Railroad. But all of those Caucasian people that have those safe houses to allow those slaves to escape to the north and go to Canada risked their lives simply because it was the right thing to do. Okay? So let me go there.
So let's talk about the Civil Rights Act. Do you think there is much symbolism to that, historical symbolism, or is it much ado about nothing?
Those are my two choices. You know, I did a story with the Washington Post, and when I finished, the reporter said she didn't know what I was. She didn't know a Democrat, Republican, black, white, or whatever. I was all over the map. Because the right thing is all over the map. It's not just one party and one vote. You know, so what was your question? You want to know
if there's the historical symbolism, or do you think there's much to do about nothing? We have the celebration of the 50 years of Civil Rights Act in an era where we have the first black president.
Well, first of all, let me say there's two ways of looking at it. One way is that I saw John Lewis, I saw Jesse, and I saw Lyndon Johnson's family, and I saw the appreciation that they had, that we were there and could recognize what their father did. He was a Southerner who gave up his political career to do the right thing, did not get credit for it because a lot of people didn't recognize the value of what he did. He also introduced and passed the voting, got the voting right back. So he is a great man in history from the standpoint of politically getting things done to help the underprivileged people. Okay? So that is something that I was happy to attend. I was motivated because, you know, as I said, President Carter gave an unbelievable speech. Jesse was there. He gave us a lot of time, my wife and I, and so forth and so on. So I was encouraged. But then on the other hand, listening to Jimmy Carter give the statistics on the job situation in this country, the violence in this country, not only the violence in neighborhoods, but the violence to women. He gave some unbelievable statistics on the plight of the ladies in our society. But the statistics show that we need to escalate our efforts and to look at the umbrella that we can create so that we have the power to truly address our young people on every level of their needs. Not just be good and go to school or don't take drugs, but to deal with the realities that they're living with, because so many of them do not have biological fathers. And they're taking gangs as their family and the street as their family, and the I don't care attitude, which means I don't mind dying. So if I don't mind dying, I don't mind killing. We have allowed them to get to that point. Those of us who are supposed to be parents, and we're supposed to be in the richest country in the world, and about 3 people have all the wealth of this country now. I mean, that's, now what have I said, man? I said all kind of things, right? But you analyze them.
Jim Brown on the record. We have a few questions here because we're running out of time.
Well, I would say, be a man at all costs. And if you need me to tell you what that is, I'll tell you what it is. But be a man at all costs. Be true to yourself. Be a man at all costs.
I have a lot of questions here, but I think this might be the last.
You want to challenge me on that one?
No, I won't challenge. I think this question has a significant meaning here, Mr. Brown. It says, if you could change anything in your life, looking at where you are today, what would it be?
Well, see, some questions are not answerable. Because if I change one thing, it's going to change some other things. You can't just change one thing. I mean, some things are leaning on other things. Before this brick out, the whole chimney might come down. So I'm going to play it safe. I survived all of my indiscretions in the past. I have survived them, and I have paid the price. And as I stand in front of you, I'm looking forward to the rest of my life being a contributor to a team effort. And being happy that God allowed me to have a wonderful wife, 2 new babies, 11 and 12. They're not new. and we're all getting along pretty good. And that ain't bad. Mel Carr told me he was happy too. He's just been married 3 years. So I've had some great individual conversations, you know, which is so good about this group. We've got a powerful group here. Remember, to put this kind of a group together, you got to be about something. There he is. Our young man at, what's the organization called?
A Forever Recovery.
What?
A Forever Recovery.
A Forever Recovery. There you go. Now you say it the right way, because you got to make it right. And you've been married how many years?
9 years.
9 years. Beautiful wife. So this seems to be a meeting of husband and wives, and all the men seem very satisfied. Yes, looking at each other going, well, I got mine. I have to look at those kind of things, because you got to be aware, dealing with men, you got to look behind the scene and see kind of how they're dealing with the lady. But I'm glad to say that the guys in this room is doing it the right way.
Well, let's give a round of applause to the man. What a great conversation with the man, the legend, the hero, the man, the transformer who did so much for his community. Very few or rarely do we come across men of his stature who come from his background and make it play in terms of their social consciousness and put their passion where they're interested in making society a better place. So without much ado, I think I'll hand this program back over to John Davis.
Please come forward and shake hands with this legend.
That'll be my pleasure.
Mike Alive. I'm running this show, man. But I take instructions from Women West. The Back Alive group, please come next.
All right. Congratulations, young man. Pleasure. What's your name? Timothy, pleasure.
Just stay, guys. Don't need to
Real
stay.
pleasure.
Don't take a picture. Where's Back Alive?
Oh man, he's a good looking young man. How are you, sir?
Well, it's the coach. What's the coach here? Coach Wilson. Okay, coach. Congratulations. All right, now, nice to meet you. Yes, sir. We get it. Did you get your quick selfie? You gotta get your quick selfie, man.
Let's keep it moving, guys. We got the picture. Let's roll. Let's keep moving. Be like a running back.
so exercise that talent.
You got a good one. All right, good. Thanks, man. All right. Where's Sean? Man, one of these gender challenges. Put her next to
It seemed like you
this beautiful lady here.